Have you thought about that the fact that maybe your poverty line is your mindset line? We've been talking about value. We've been talking about how Africa can capture its value, how we can go from the name that we've been given, the name called poverty, to a new name that we can give ourselves. Because we've been rolling around with Africa is poor, this brand, this name that we don't really know where it came from, a name we don't know where it came from. So we've been talking about how can we rename ourselves from Africa is poor to Africa is rich, from Africa has lack to Africa has abundance. How can we create value that the whole world can see and believe in, value they can believe in? So I believe that the real war in Africa is not outside. The real war for Africa is on the inside. And that's where we have to start. We don't have to start from resources. We don't have to start from building factories. We have to start from building the inside, from revisiting the internal processes and systems and the mindset to start looking at ourselves as the way we are, not the way we've been told we are. And that is really, the big question is, what if the strongest colonizer left a new mindset? What if the strongest leftover from colonization is a mindset? What if the deposit of colonization was a new mindset? A mindset that tells us what we should be and who we should think of ourselves. How do we then start to untangle that? How do we then start to fight the battle for value? The battle that begins with the belief system, not with borders. Because there was a lot of talk about we need the diamonds back, we need the gold back, we need the wealth back, we need the land back. But did we ever ask for we need the mind back? Did we ever reclaim the mind? Did we ever say we want to go back to who we believed we were before we were told who we are? Are we rolling around in a broken image? Are we rolling around in a broken identity? Can we be able to confront the narratives that we have internalized about our own limitations? Have you confronted the narratives that surround you? Have you revisited your limitations? Have you asked yourself, what is it that I am capable of? What is it that I can do? How can I build value? Have you put boundaries around yourselves and redefine yourself in a way that limits you, in a way that makes you believe that you're less than, that you can't do it, you can't make it, you can't get out, you can't grow, you can't prosper, you can't change, you can't build something new, something transformational? Have you put limitations around yourself? So I believe that the first thing that we have to confront is not poverty. The first thing that we have to confront is the narratives that we have internalized. And we have to start the liberation that starts in the mirror. I believe that our liberation has to start in the mirror by looking at ourselves and asking ourselves, do I like what I see? Do I believe what I see? And we talked about a few episodes back about how somebody went around breaking the mirror, and now they are holding a mirror in front of us, a broken mirror, and we see our image in a distorted way, but really the image is not distorted, the mirror is broken. So we have to start holding the mirror, the right mirror in front of us, and start seeing ourselves without limitations. Because the mirror that is being held in front of us has a brand limitations. But how do we start? You cannot create what you don't believe you're worthy of. You can't create beyond your belief. You can't create beyond how you have internalized what you believe you can do. You can only create what you believe you can achieve. So if you start from I can't do it, then you can't do it. So the question is, how can we build value if we don't believe we can carry value? How can we believe, how can we build value if we don't believe we can carry it? If we don't believe we can steward it? If I can get you to believe that you can't steward value, if I can get you to believe that you can't carry value, that you can't steward value, then you can't begin to build it. You have to believe that you're worthy of value, that you're worthy of building, you're worthy of carrying, you're worthy of possessing, you're worthy of having, and then you can start building. So low self-esteem and low self-worth leads to low output, regardless of the talent or the resources that you have. The moment you start believing that you are less than, then it doesn't matter what resources you have. And I believe that's where we've been suffering, because we've got the resources, we've got the talent, we've got the people, we've got the minerals, we've got the weather, the beautiful weather, the tropical weathers. We've got everything that we need to build. But the problem is that once we have low self-worth, then we can turn around and create output from low self-worth. We begin with the self. So I believe that the action point here is that we have to start to affirm our worth. You need to start affirming your worth daily before even your work begins. You have to start your work with the mindset that you're worthy, you have worth, you have value. But if I can get you to start the day believing that you are just trying, then you can't really come home by the end of the day with any form of value that you've created. So, because your value drives your vision, your worth, your sense of worth drives the size of your vision. You can only dream as big as you believe you're worth. So if your worth is limited, then your vision will be limited. So internalized inferiority breaks more than dreams. It breaks more than poverty does. Because if we believe that we are inferior, if we believe that we are not worth a grain of salt, then we are more broken than poverty has broken us. Because when you dig deeper into the root causes of poverty, you will find places where people believed that they couldn't produce. They are surrounded by resources. They are surrounded by a young population, a hard-working population, energetic, intelligent, smart, educated, but they have believed, they have internalized inferiority, and they are more broken than poverty has broken them. So what keeps us small? A lack of money, or is it a lack of belief? Are we being broken by the lack of money? Are we being broken by lack of belief, by the lack of faith, by the lack of a sense of worth? We have to revisit these things, because if we rush to poverty, if we rush to lack, if we rush to the definition of poverty that we talked about and the definition of lack that we talked about, if we rush there before we examine belief and branding, then we are going to find ourselves chasing what we shouldn't be chasing. If we have a misnomer, if we are misnamed, if you're going to the market and you're looking for a potato, and you don't define that you're looking for a sweet potato, right? You're going to end up with Irish potatoes. So if you name wrong, you are going to get wrong. So many people are failing not from external limitation, but from internal hesitations, from internal definitions. So I believe that Africa has to identify the voice in our head that makes us shrink. And then we have to start by silencing that voice before we can silence the root causes of poverty. So fear can sometimes disguise itself as humility. This whole idea of, oh yeah, you can come and help us, we need your help, thank you for your help. You know, we go around the world collecting donations and charity and sending thank you notes. that looks fantastic, and I'm glad we've had help before we can discover what we can do. But the moment we discover what we are capable of, the moment we discover what we can do, we are not going to need a lot of help. So the most dangerous poverty is the poverty of self-perception. You are as poor as your perception. So we have to start. So what if mindset, not money, is the real poverty line? I mean, what if our poverty line is the mindset line? What if we are as poor as we've set our mind? What if we elevate mindset, we can elevate wealth? Have you thought about that? The fact that maybe your poverty line is your mindset line. You are limited by your thinking. You're limited by your innovation, not by luck. Because if you say that Africa is full of luck, then you haven't really been to Africa. So when we see ourselves as inadequate, we underprice ourselves, and we underdeliver, and we underdream. So the whole thing starts from seeing ourselves inadequately, the inadequate perception of who we are. So we have to raise the internal value that we assign to ourselves. We have to raise the internal value that we give to our contributions. We have to start thinking differently. This whole conversation is about to change perception of value, the perception of value, the perception of abundance, the perception of lack, of poverty, the narratives. Because low view equals low value. You can't have something of value if you are undervaluing it. So we have to reclaim the value. Reclaiming value starts with renaming ourselves. Reclaiming your value starts with renaming yourself. You have to rename yourself. What name are you living under that someone else gave you? We are poor. We are uneducated. These are names. These are not realities. These are names. And the thing is that the names have created realities, because if you repeat it enough times, it will start to manifest. So we've called ourselves poor. We've operated from labels we didn't choose, and the labels have manifested what we confessed. So if we can change the narrative and start speaking new names over us, if you start speaking a new name over yourself, over your business, over your calling, what new name do you want to give yourself? Oh, I'm poor. Oh, I need help. Oh, somebody come and give me a grant. If that's what you're naming yourself, that's where you're going to be. So you have to call yourself what God calls you, what you want to call yourself, and then you have to act like it. First, you begin by calling yourself, and then you start acting according to the name that you've given yourself. So the question I have for you is, where is the war? Is the war really on the outside, or is the war on the inside? I believe the war of poverty is on the inside. And if we can conquer the internal, then we can acquire the external.